Well, Bleacher Report coming out with more news on the Philadelphia Eagles. And interesting enough, a few trade candidates for the Eagles, 3 players that could be traded before training camp. Less than maybe 3 weeks we have left until training camp as of right now. And these we've kind of explored already, but kind of want to do a deep dive on realistically some trade candidates for the Eagles if they want to, pick up a draft pick for next year or something like that, if they can afford to lose a certain specific player on this team. So there are 3 players that could be up for trade and that could be dealt before training camp. So I want to go over those players and let's get straight into it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Hope it's having a fantastic day. I want to go over some trade candidates for the Philadelphia Eagles that could potentially be dealt before training camp. And number 1 on the list right now that I did see was Kenneth Gainwell, which I just don't think there's too much uncertainty with this running back core. Not uncertainty as of production, but as of health. Okay, getting Rashad Penny for $600,000 for the year. You got him for a certain reason. He only played 5 games last year. DeAndre Swift, obviously not even a big focal point to the rushing attack with him, but his elite vision, what he could do, and in the passing game with Brian Johnson's, offense right now as a new offensive coordinator, and getting these running backs more involved heavily in the passing game is probably one of the most important things. Gainwell is just too productive for me to deal right now, unless they were getting maybe a 3rd round pick or something like that. Maybe I would, but realistically, I just wouldn't go about trading Kenneth Gainwell before training camp, because I feel like he's just way too important and he's the most reliable as of right now. God forbid we trade him and then guys end up getting hurt and now you're down to really nothing at the end of the day. I think the big question from all these Eagles fans have been talking about with the running back core is, are the Eagles going to keep 4 running backs this year? Safe to say, I don't see why not. They did it back in 2017 and one played more special teams and really, was really playing, so I mean, Boston Scott will be a full-time special teamer, most likely on the kick returns until, if they feel like using him or they want to use him as, somewhat of a different skill set for playing a certain defense and feel like he's going to be a big part of the offense for certain games. I'm totally fine with that. Kenneth Gainwell for a 5th round pick from Memphis, okay, has done so well. He's not one of those running backs that has this special type of running skill set, some crazy skill set that he has. He's just naturally pretty productive and takes the ball, he gets the ball, he runs with fire in his eyes, and in the passing game in open space, I mean, 9 out of 10 times, in open space, one-on-one, he's making the first guy miss and to get those extra yards. So, Kenneth Gainwell is probably the last player I would ever even get rid of off this team. He's just been so productive, even obviously with 2 more years left on his contract this year and next year. His contract is dwindling down right now, and I kind of want to see what the Eagles, what is his future with the Philadelphia Eagles going forward. Really depends on if they sign Swift to an extension later this year. There's been rumors about that. Rashad Penny is pretty much playing for himself to get another contract somewhere else. But, if this works out and the distribution is very nice with the football this year, I'm telling you, this could be one of the most dangerous running back rooms. I mean, this would take 2017 by another storm, from what we have this year at running back to what we had in 2017, just to give obviously insight of how different it could actually be, because you have low reward, you have obviously low, high reward, low risk type of players, in the running back core right now. DeAndre Swift, I know, is already good. He only missed 3 games last year, so I'm not really making a big deal about it, but to know how much of a focal point is, Swift going to be in this offense, and I think he will be. I would use Rashad Penny as a finisher. I would use him as just a, run between the tackles type finisher, tire out defenses, really just, kind of how the Bears used to use Jordan Howard, late in the second half. You know what I mean? Like something like that. I know you could do a lot more with Rashad Penny. There's no doubt about it. And then you have Kenneth Gainwell here that could do a little bit of everything. I think he's a nice balance. Okay, not the fastest, not the most explosive, but the guy is just really productive. So there's too much what if factors on this in this running back room right now going into this year. We have to come out of camp healthy, so the Eagles didn't have mini camp or any of that stuff. They're one of 3 teams that don't have that. I didn't agree with that last year, but it actually helps a lot because, that early you don't have to be pushing your guys that hard, and then this is when injuries do occur. So with Kenneth Gainwell, I wouldn't even touch this. He should be here, and I think the Eagles should have 4 running backs on this roster, no doubt. So definitely a trade candidate. I mean, look, if we're getting like a 3rd round pick for him, I would maybe do it, but I'm not even really thinking about that right now. If we're not getting a 3rd round pick for him, really, I wouldn't get rid of him. I would keep him here, and he's just been so great. It's just too much to deal with right now. Secondly, of course, this one isn't surprising with Derek Barnett. And let's just be honest here, okay? Derek Barnett's been more of a problem than he has been productive, and he's been off the field more than on the field. His 2 most productive years was his rookie year and probably 2018 after that. Okay, his first year was great. Second year was not too bad, and then started getting injuries. And then when he finally got to play a couple seasons ago, he was just a big problem, man. He was more hurting us than helping us. Nick Sirianni had a lot to say about him on the sideline. We all seen what happened. I mean, Derek Barnett's just been really ruining drives for us. And a trade candidate makes no sense to me. I mean, yes, you could trade Derek Barnett, but, are you going to give him another chance this year to kind of prove himself? Because, honestly, guys, the Eagles are not giving him a 3rd contract. It's just not going to happen. Okay, there's been news that maybe, Derek Barnett's going to be like a Brandon Graham type of player, maybe a late bloomer to where he's going to do really well and gets, maybe 6 to 9 sacks this year, something like that. Would be great. I mean, I just wouldn't re-sign him after this year. You know what I mean? You drafted Nolan Smith this year. Reddick's here for this year and next year. You have some players there that Eagles can always add more. I feel like they need to add another defensive end. I feel like I kind of want to see if they're going to go in a direction of getting Yannick Ngakoue to this team. I feel like there's a strong possibility they might add more to this defensive line because really when you take Derek Barnett out of it, there's no 3rd rotation anymore. Really, you're down to what? It's you have Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, and then really you don't really have that 3rd rotation. Patrick Johnson, I don't know. I mean, there's really nothing there. I would like to have if you keep Barnett here and then maybe sign Yannick, you'd have 3 really good, productive lines. That would be very beneficial for the Philadelphia Eagles and this season. This one's a tough one. I think the worst move the Eagles made last year, the worst move the Eagles had in the offseason last year at 22 was not re-signing Derek Barnett to a 2-year deal. And I was kind of shocked over it, and I don't know. I just hope he doesn't hurt us during the season with drives, big 3rd downs, making stops, and he's just pushing somebody that's not even in the field of play 10, 15 yards in the field of play. That's the issues I'm having. So I'm always rooting for the guy. I don't hate Derek Barnett as a person, as a player. It's just been a headache a little bit. And what are you going to get in a trade for him? I mean, he's got no value. Where's the value? You can't value something from 4 years ago. You know what I mean? There's no value. He hasn't even touched the field. What are you supposed to value? You know what I mean? I mean, 21. What do you take the value of 21? What do you have? 2 sacks? What do you have? 2 sacks for the year? He had more penalties than sacks. I think it was 8, 9 penalties. I think he had the most penalties as a defensive end in 21 for his position. I mean, the most penalties consumed by a player was Derek Barnett, and that's a problem. So not on board of trading him, not really on board of keeping him, but, I just want him to be somewhat productive. I'm not expecting him to get 5 to 7 sacks this year, but if he does, great. If he doesn't, as long as he's, being disruptive and maybe coming into his own a little bit this year, and maybe we see some things from him, like we go to some games this year and we're like, wow, he's, hey, this is a contract year for Derek Barnett. After this year, that's pretty much it. He's going to be looking for another contract, and I don't know. If he ends up getting like 5 5 to 6 sacks for the year. I think he'll be relatively easy to re-sign. I feel like Howie Roseman does like Derek Barnett, but the production has got to be there regardless. So we will see what happens in the time, that it happens. But just let me know what you guys think about Derek Barnett on the trade block. Would you even pull the trigger on it? Like I said, if you're not going to get anything but a 7th-round pick for him, there's no point. Just keep him here. He's depth. He's got experience. He's been a starter before. It may sound weird to say that, but as long as if he starts hurting us defensively, then it's going to be a problem. They have to reprimand him for a second time, and that's what they're going to have to do. So that's Derek Barnett. Last player, we've all talked about this a million times. That's been Bleacher Report put out another name, and that is Quez Watkins. We've been through this a million times. There was obviously trade rumors that he was on the block, and nothing happened. Even coming out of OTAs, John McMullen did mention, Nick came to the, as the shield, as the protector to Quez Watkins, that he's going to be a great player this year, that he's going to have a great camp and all this great stuff. And then John McMullen went on Shakeed Media and said, he had a crucial drop that was wide open. He had separation, and he couldn't haul the ball in. Okay, now before we had A.J. Brown, before we had Devontae Smith and all these receivers, we were just happy for a receiver to get a first down, at least one good catch. Man, we had problems over the years with just players dropping balls and not hauling anything in. And we used to like make a big deal out of a player catching a ball one time in a game for getting a first down. I mean, I remember those days, and now it's so different to where it's not like Quez Watkins made so many mistakes last year and he was god-awful. He made crucial mistakes that could have got us wins. Okay, the Super Bowl drop. It is what it is. Why you put a man in that situation where he wasn't playing in consistent games with apparently a grade 2 shoulder sprain? Okay, number 2, the Washington game where we weren't undefeated no longer. And thank God we actually lost one game. I mean, we were due a loss anyway, but, I don't think a team should be, to be undefeated would be a great thing, but at the same time, it takes the pressure off, and then you hit the reset button to start winning games again. That's what the Eagles did. Not being undefeated, kind of took the pressure off a little bit. And I felt like, after we kind of got screwed in that game with the Dallas Goedert face mask, and then obviously 2 really good passes from Jalen Hurts, one to obviously the Dallas Goedert catch, that was a face mask, that wasn't ruled a face mask, and then the big one to Quez Watkins downfield, got up, was not, he didn't get touched when he caught the ball. When he hit the ground, he got back up and wasn't looking around or protecting the football when he got up, and he fumbled the ball. You know what I mean? So, there was a lot of different things that happened with him. And like I said, it wasn't a crap ton of mistakes. And I feel like Quez could play really well. I feel like the Eagles really do like him. I really do like him. I support him 100%. To trade him is going to be a really big hole behind these receivers, okay? Because if you end up trading Quez Watkins, which I think you can get like a 5th-round pick for him, but still, I don't think it's worth it, just because then you're down to Alamati Zaccheaus, which I think you really need to have 2 productive receivers behind Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, or at least behind Quez, all 3 with Quez Watkins there. You take Quez out of the picture, then obviously, you're going to have Zaccheaus is going to be your prime starter in the slot. And then, God forbid, I don't know. Then you have to really rely on Joseph Nagata and Jaden Hazelwood and some of these other guys that, Charleston Rambo, some of these other guys are trying out to, one of them will make the team. Maybe Devin Allen. I don't know. Britton Covey's just a special teamer. He will never touch the field as a receiver in an Eagles jersey ever. But, losing Quez, you're going to lose that. And when you trade Quez away on top of that, what if A.J. Brown goes down or Devontae Smith goes down? I would easily move Quez to the outside. This way he's, some people think, at least some Eagles fans think that Quez is more of an outside receiver than he is better in the slot. You know what I mean? So as a number, I think wide receiver 3 is one of the worst positions because you're not the focal point. And when that ball comes to you, you have to be ready for it. And there were times where Jalen Hurts threw the ball to him and he wasn't even paying attention last year. So, losing Quez, you're going to have to move a lot of things around. With with Quez, at least he could play outside receiver and inside. I think he could be a better outside receiver, but he has experience on the outside receiver position, which is a great thing. So if one of those guys gets hurt, has to be out a couple games, all you do is move Quez to the outside and Zaccheaus comes right in the slot. You know what I mean? So you're kind of already set with your plan A and plan B if the things do, happen the way that they happen. So getting rid of Quez is probably not on my list. Unless they want to trade Quez to get another guy in the building, that's a different story, I guess. But for me, at least, from what it looks like, I don't want Quez to go anywhere. I really feel like he will have a good year this year. I think there is somewhat of a competition in camp. As much as people don't realize it, I think there is. You're not bringing Alamati Zaccheaus in here because, and I know I'm saying his name wrong, God forbid, because I know people are going to be like, you're saying his name wrong. I know. You lose him and you're down to Alamati, you're down to Zaccheaus at the end of the day. So, you know what I mean? Quez Watkins, this is it's a contract year. This is it. You know what I mean? Like, what are the Eagles going to do at this position? Like, you got to pay Devontae Smith in a couple of years. Like, this might be Quez's last year in Philadelphia, and he's got to make the most out of it. Trust me, nothing is going to go by us this training camp. We're going to find out, like, what he's all about, how much production is he going to give us, joint practices. Once we get full pads on, we're hitting other teams. We're, obviously he's facing some of our defenders as well during camp, so should be really interesting. I know some Eagles fans want to get rid of him. Some don't. I'm on the bandwagon of I want to keep him this year because I feel like with Zaccheaus now here, I feel like they could use both of these guys because, I feel like, even with Zaccheaus, he's only a little bit shorter than Quez. I think he weighs the exact same, but, both of them have burner mentality. They could definitely burn people on the field and get good separation. And Quez, I know for a fact 100% can get separation. It's just, hauling these footballs in and getting these catches right. And we hold this receiver room to a higher standard like no other now. And I'm not saying like Quez Watkins doesn't need to have 100 yards per game. You know what I mean? He doesn't even need to have a catch. If you know what I mean, you can only distribute the ball to so many players. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, your running backs, you're going to be running the ball too. So that's going to take away from these receivers getting the ball. Like, at least every time he gets an opportunity, I want him to kind of just go after it, man. Once his number is called, and Hurts is either they have a play that's set for Quez, or Hurts is scrambling and he finds Quez. I mean, those are the moments where Quez has to be productive. There's a lot of Eagles fans that kind of think, oh well, he didn't have more than 5 catches this game, it means that he's trash or he's a bad player. No, they just weren't going his direction because of certain matchups, certain defenses, personnel. They have to look at all of that. What's the weak point to the Patriots defense? You know what I mean? Like, what's the weakness? Who should we give the ball more? You know what I mean? So it's going to be based off of game plan every single week. But if his number is called, whether it's Hurts on a scramble or anything like that, he just better be productive and get these balls and pause, big pause, and just be ready for it at the end of the day. So I like I said, we've talked about Quez up and down. I didn't know what was going to happen. I figured maybe he would get traded. I mean, who knows? He might get traded. I mean, I don't know what the Eagles really think at the end of the day, because what else is really out there? Do they really like some of these undrafted free agents that haven't really proved themselves yet? It's just too early to tell, to put too much into Joseph Nagata and Hazelwood and Charleston Rambo and some of these other receivers. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I don't have trust. Devin Allen, it's too much for me to say that this is going to happen. So I don't know. You guys let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about, obviously, Quez Watkins, Derek Barnett, and Kenneth Gainwell as your trade candidates before training camp that could be moved. You let me know in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. You guys have a fantastic day. If you last this long in this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video as well. It does help out the channel out a lot. And I will see you guys on the next one. You guys have a fantastic day. Shakes, what up, Files 5. Peace out, guys. Peace.